Hey, what's up, everybody? Today, I want to just look at the new supers coming in the final shape. Today, we're just going to be starting with the Hunter. It is honestly the one I'm looking forward to the least. And yeah, let's just get into it. I'm going to be pausing things here and there. Of course, this is kind of the return to Arcblade. If they just brought back Arcblade, it would be pretty much Night Stalker Hunter with the double daggers. Can't remember what Shadow Step? No, that's definitely wrong. But whatever that thing is called, it'd be basically that kind of mixed with what Arc Strider is now. So I'm glad that they changed it up, and I think Storm's Edge seems pretty cool for PvP. PvE, I don't think it's going to be useful, because even for taking out champions, you're putting yourself at risk, and that's like my main reason I don't like Thunder Crash that much. It's really good for damage, and in the super tier list and the exotic tier list, I'll always give it a high rating. Same with the chest Caress of the Falling Star. I'll always give those high ratings because they are good, but they do put you at risk. And that's my problem with Storm's Edge. When you have something like Gathering Storm where you just spin around and throw it, you're not in danger as much, so that leans me more into using that. Plus, Gathering Storm's also on Arc, and it's way more damage than this will do. I'm 100% sure of that. So, like, I don't know. In PvE, this isn't going to be used, like, at all. But for PvP, it seems pretty useful. Probably the best Hunter super, unless you're just a god with Arc Strider, which some people are.
That was a triple kill, what the heck?
Boink.
But, oh, I'm amplified even if
So here we're seeing the new heavy melee and how it can combo with Tempest Strike. Can't remember what the new Ascension. It's on the screen right now. Good job, Spycer. You learned how to read. Now, Ascension, it's not great. A lot of the heavy melees are kind of stinkers. I like the one on Strand Titan. That's probably my favorite one of all of them. Most of the rest of them I'm not huge on. But being that you can combo with Tempest Strike is nice, and it gives you amplified whenever you do Ascension. But personally, I think I probably wouldn't use Ascension unless they buff Tempest Strike and Ascension has 3 fragment slots. Like, if they both have 3 fragment slots, I might use it just because of that. But right now, I'm not using Tempest Strike as is, because, like, it's the worst fragment or worst aspect of all of them for Arc Hunter, because the other two are really good and they combo really well together. Tempest Strike doesn't combo in there. Now, Ascension will combo with it, but will it be worth using? Because I'm assuming Ascension's going to have like 1 mod slot. So I'm not excited for Ascension. It could be really cool,
I'm not,
but I'm not optimistic, really.
All your teammates. It's gonna zip on over there. Bonk.
those impacts.
So again, we're seeing more gameplay with that super and how you can really mess around with it. Now, this is important to note that they are testing the aspects and the supers within Ghosts of the Deep, which, I mean, light level probably doesn't matter because they're probably on par with it, but, you know, that could be something to consider. And the fact that the boss, Ekthar, has a lot of health. It doesn't matter yet, but it will in a minute. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Ekthar has a ton of health, and there's a decent amount of pretty tanky enemies within Ghosts of the Deep compared to other dungeons. So them testing in Ghosts of the Deep is going to kind of mislead some people, probably, especially when we get to Titan. But we're not there yet. We're going to go on to Warlock. This is my main class. This is the one I was probably the most excited for during the reveal, because it reminded me a lot of D1 Radiance or Song of Flame, whatever it was, because I can't remember. So yeah, this is reminiscent of D1 Sunzinger. we're going to review the Solar Buddy aspect and the Song of Flame super, which might change names. Right now, how I'm thinking of this is it's going to be really good based on your exotic. I think the super may be way better with Claws of Ahamkara because I'm assuming it'll let you do the melee twice in a row really quickly, but it kind of looks like you can already do that anyways. And, of course, we got our little solar buddy who jumps in the air over things and hits your enemies, which is really cool. I'm assuming there's probably going to be an exotic to buff the solar buddy, but probably not Song of Flame. Problem with Song of Flame is when you pop your super, you don't have solar nades. So that's gonna rule out some bracers if they don't get nerfed somehow. And it's not fusions, and that's gonna rule out Starfire Protocol, even though in this situation it wouldn't really buff you at all. But I'm sure there's other things you could do, like probably something like Verity's Brow or Winter's Guile might help here. Maybe Fellwinter's Helm. But you're going to want to spec into grenades and melees a lot with this super, and it's just figuring out what exotics best synergize with that method of play. Especially for how this works, because it's going to be constantly recharging those abilities. It's not like, you know, you have to sit there and wait for it to recharge. So Eye of Another World isn't going to help you, you know? So we're just going to have to wait and see on this one. Now, I'm excited for Solar Buddy. I don't think it's going to be the best of the little solar guys, or warlock guys, but it might be fun. It might be great for doing ignitions. Now, here's a part of the video that a lot of people didn't like, because they're hyping it up because you killed the ogre that unlocks Deep Sight and goes to the deep, which, not that tanky of an enemy. It's weaker than the 3 knights, I think. And you have to use a melee and a grenade on it, whatever. The disappointing thing is they didn't show its damage on Ekthar. Now, I have a theory as to why they didn't, because we heard in the showcase or the after show, they were talking about solar weapons scorching on hit whenever a teammate has Song of Flame or whatever. Like, it buffs your allies so they scorch on hit with solar weapons. I know in the after show, Joe Blackburn was talking about how they're going to have to adjust those numbers, because if you couldn't tell already, that's a really strong thing to just hand out, because that's ignitions all the time. That's so many ignitions. You have 6 people running a solar LMG, and it's melting everything in its path. Like, it just is. So that's probably why they didn't show it against Ekthar, because they probably don't have that number down. They don't want to have it melt Ekthar in here, and then when it comes out, it's like you do 1 scorch stack a hit. So yeah, that we'll have to see. I'm cautiously optimistic it'll be good. And now we're on to Titan, which does look really fun, and I'm excited for it. So yeah, let's just get into it. This is the Twilight Arsenal Super. It's a one and done, but you throw 3 of them, so you're in the air for a while. And then you get to pick up the axe, which has like 20 ammo that depletes over time. And it looks really fun, but let's be honest, the aspect is probably better. You consume your grenade energy to put a shield in front of you to reflect damage. That's really good, especially if you're using Armamentarium, which I'm assuming it won't be 2 separate shields. It'll be 1 big shield, kind of like how Weave Walk works on Warlock. But here's my thing about the axes. They can be really good, and the damage isn't that bad. People are really over-exaggerating how bad the damage is. It's Ekthar. Let's be honest here. Ekthar is really tanky. Of course, Ekthar is weakened here. We don't know if that is from our Titan Super or if that's from an ally weakening Ekthar. We don't know if it's the 15% or the 30%. We don't know how this debuff was applied. I don't see a tractor cannon, but I may just, be bad at seeing things. Which is, of course, always a possibility. It does look like the G-Horn hits a weakened enemy. So, Twilight Arsenal probably doesn't weaken. It'd be cool if it did, Bungie, but it probably doesn't. Or suppresses, at least. Here's the thing. The damage isn't that bad. Ekthar is just not a great boss to show this on. He's a damage check, but if you don't show the oh, hey, right there. Song of Flame has a buff for our Titan here. So I'm assuming that it's working here. Yeah. So yeah, Scorch on hit. It's gonna be a thing. We just don't know how much, and they probably just didn't want to show how effective it was because they weren't sure. So back to Titan. The damage doesn't look that bad. The problem is Ekthar has so much health. He has more health than Nezarec last time I checked. Last thing I heard, at least. That's a lot. He has a lot of health. So, like, one super isn't gonna, like, take a quarter of his health bar. It takes, like, a fifth here, but, that's 3 people hitting him with a super, kind of. That's a lot. Kind of. I mean, it's just Ekthar's a really odd choice to do this on, especially without showing the damage screen to show how much of that was the super. And here's my thing. This super is going to be super reliant on exotics. If it doesn't have an exotic to increase its damage, I hope that the axes you can pick up off the ground are buffed by exotics like Synthoceps, Winter's Guile, Worm God's Caress, things that buff your melee damage and give you benefits for using melees. So, like, say you're Titan and you throw your axes out there and you have a Warlock on your team with Karnstein armlets. They can run forward and use the axe with little to no regard for their own safety, and that would be nice. So, I'm just saying this super is relying completely on the idea that axe will work with exotics. I'm almost certain it'll work with Synthoceps because it's a super and a melee. It's got to hit one of those two, right? So that's how I see it. Twilight Arsenal is going to be the most dependent of these supers on exotics, but it still doesn't look bad without them. The axes on the ground look super gimmicky unless they work with exotics like Karnsteins and Synthoceps and things like that. Otherwise, it's not looking good for it. Anyways, that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about today was, the reveal of the new supers and the aspects and like the tiny previews of them. So yeah, tell me what you think down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check my pinned comment for other stuff. And yeah, I'll see you next time.